Welcome to the Speak Her Podcast with your host, Camille Essick, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Let's get started.
The Creative Connect is a 24-hour virtual assistant. Go to CamilleEssick.com and be sure to shop the collection with stock elements and so much more. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. Now back to the Speaker Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. Follow me. I am on Instagram at Camille.Essick across all platforms. And I'm also on Facebook at the Speaker Podcast. I would love to hear from you. Please send me an email at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. And I have lots of great things available on my website at CamilleEssick.com. Without further ado, this is a D9 situation. It's Indiana Love. Tonight, we're going to have a really good conversation. He is a friend to the show. Dr. Sheldon McAfee is back, aka the smart guy. We're going to have a really good conversation about the current state right now of DEI within higher education, future of HBCUs. What is that looking like? So what I need you to do right now is tap in, tag a friend, comment, share, do all the things. And we're going to hop right in. Dr. Sheldon, welcome back.
Hey! Whoa! The Mac is back.
Give me a Facebook jail with the copyright.
All right, that's enough.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Blessed. How's it going?
Good. So, we've gained new followers since you were last here. So, just to catch the people up. Yes, just let the people know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Sheldon McAfee. I am an educator, father, and author. I love teaching. I love working with children and helping adults who work with children. I am a former school teacher, elementary, primary, and middle school principal, author of elementary children books, and currently I am a professor and a consultant and a coach. And I'm very, very happy to be here. Proud graduate of the Alabama State University, member of Kappa Alpha Psi, Beta Zeta chapter, Beta Zeta non-grader. Played on the golf team at Alabama State. I was a Student Government Association treasurer while I was at Alabama State University. So I love my Hornets, tried and true. Was so proud of us in the tournament the other day, and especially winning SWAC champ. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, thank you, just for joining us. Just hopping right in, Dr. Sheldon. There's a lot happening right now within our country, particularly when we're seeing the dismantling of Department of Education. To even say that in a sentence is just so asinine. And we see the state, we hear stories about what's happening with TSU. They're owed, $1 to $2 billion from the state of Tennessee. And it's almost like they're intentionally being bled out to force their doors to close, amongst other things we're hearing in the higher academia community. And so the first thing I want to ask you is just what is your take on the dismantling of DOE as far as direct impact for students from kindergarten through high school, since you were assistant principal at that time? Like, what do you foresee that impact when we look at lunch programs, books, etc.?
Lunch programs, special education programs, Head Start programs, bus programs, their teacher resources, actual teachers, Title I teachers. So we don't know what's going to come of it. Luckily, there's a legal system in this country, and there are a lot of attorney generals out there that have filed injunctions. But the concern for me is this. There's an old African greeting that used to ask, how are the children? Right? So they would walk into a village. When they meet you, they would greet you by saying, how are the children? That was their customary saying, hello, good, how are you? And you think about that. They put the children first. Is the village okay based on how are the children? Because you're responsible. The children are not okay. The children are well. And what do children need? They need structure. They need schools. I get heartbroken when I drive by and see closed down schools. So I'm not sure what these cuts or what the dismantling of the Department of Education will do for resources. But that is a real concern because while resources are plentiful in some areas, schools are still funded by zip codes. So where you live, the property taxes you pay go towards that school. And if there are school districts that don't have a lot of residents, right? There's not a lot of property tax. If there aren't a lot of businesses, land, areas like golf courses or shopping malls or mega churches or things like that on their property, they're not going to get a lot of resources. So that's where the federal government was helping or is helping with schools by providing funding in spaces where they're missing. So kids won't go without breakfast in the morning or emergency food or things like that. Like they have food pantries that are at school. Like I think those are mostly donated by food shelters, but those spaces
and the backpack program, they have that too.
Say again, the backpack,
backpack program, yeah.
Yeah. So, like not having someone to regulate if special ed services are being provided in schools, right? Like the IDEA Act. That's a law that makes sure that we have access, that children with this special learning needs and disabilities have access to facilities, campus, and resources so that they can learn and thrive in school. What if there are no monitors to make sure that's happening? I mean, I'm just concerned that the change will not be received well or will be too dramatic, where that the resources that we're used to and that we need won't be available. Like I said, to me, it's very heartbreaking to see a school close in a community, and if school districts are going to be forced to foot the bill, I mean, they're going to come up with creative ways, and some of those are going to be like condensing their facilities because you have to pay to keep lights, heat, water on, pay for people to be there. So I don't know. I mean, I'm concerned because also how it's affecting universities. So I teach here at a university, and they were all ready to honor the descendants of enslaved people who helped build the university, and then they had to do an abrupt cancellation. We have a program in our School of Education where we were helping to create more teachers in school systems by working with people who either who have college credit, work in a school already, and are interested in teaching. Like if you were the office manager, cafeteria worker, custodian, bus driver, and you had an urge to teach. We had a program that we were using federal funding to help create that space for teachers, and schools needed it. Programs, right now up in the air are no longer available. So like the solutions that the federal government through the Department of Education was helping was hurtful. Now, on a jokey joke note, if you wouldn't mind, whoever is in the Department of Education going over to the financial aid department and just delete this name Sheldon McAfee real quick, that'd be real good. So if those people getting rid of student loans, I'm okay with that. But I do worry about the lack of resources that will come for public education, which we do need now. And I joke about financial aid because students need that. Those resources help me go to college, right? I mean, yes, I got to play golf and I got a walk-on scholarship. And then the Student Government Association also gave me a scholarship. But those first 2 semesters, those first 2 years, me and my mama and Uncle Sam and the good Lord helped pay for me to get to school through financial aid. So those are resources that people need to help get a foot up in life. So I'm hoping that it won't be too drastic. Like I said, these attorney generals are smart, and they've got injunctions all over the place to stop illegal actions from happening. But I also hope that the administration takes a breath and really listens to the citizens who have to use those systems. Like families who are in the public education system, come talk to them. That the new Secretary of Education should go listen to the families who are recipients of the services. When you see a line item, don't just see it as a line item. There's a child in a classroom who is receiving that fund, that teacher, that resource, that space, that bus to get back and forth to school, like children who might be in an unhoused situation, right? if they don't have transportation to get back and forth from school, there's federal funding that allows schools to help pay for transportation to get that child from where their unfortunate predicament has landed them to and from school. Right? That's a benefit to have. No one's abusing that. The kids aren't joyriding around. So when you say fraud, abuse, and wasteful spending, I think that's a great way for us to spend money. I actually think that they should put all children in cars instead of putting them on buses because it's safer and easier for them to monitor. But that's neither here nor there. We should just, having those resources makes just a simple thing like going to school possible for children. I used to have my students in a character education class examine how difficult it was for children in war-torn countries to have to go to school. Like thinking about like minefields, bullets, right? And so then you make the comparison now, like what if our children don't have access to get to school not because of dangerous situation, but just because of unfair, cruel situation? Like you take away their transportation. Like how do they get there then? What's the option?
Something that you touched on, Dr. Sheldon, when you were talking about housing, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand the importance of home ownership and how those property taxes tie into education.
Yeah.
Because right now we're in a time where you have a lot of investment companies grabbing up property that is really should be for first-time homeowners. And so now you have a group of people, there is an issue with the point of entry, the barrier to entry for home ownership because of these companies. So if you don't have that point of entry open for first-time homeowners, property taxes, education. And so can you kind of touch on that so some people can understand how important home ownership is, how property taxes plays into the quality of education for that particular zip code or district?
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about this. I made a comment on a post today. The Secretary of Housing and Urban Development made like a gesture, or I guess a grand gesture, by signing a document saying that he was ending affirmative fair housing to save our suburbs. Now, that's so problematic. You're ending affirmative fair housing to save our suburbs. So, home ownership is a part of the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Owning a piece of land. My grandfather used to say, I just told my daughter this the other day, my grandfather used to say, God has made all the land he gonna make. You better get a piece of it, right? So owning a home, having a place for dwelling, your home, is a part of the American dream, right? To raise a family, if that's what you want to do, or to live by yourself and grow tomatoes or whatever. But doing that is a part of being American. To celebrate the fact, or even come up with a, like I said, grand gesture. I don't know what he signed, or even if he has authority to do so. But to say you're celebrating the fact that you don't want to make it possible for certain people of a certain race or color to live in a certain neighborhood sounds like covenant deeds to me, right? Back when homeowners used to write into their deed and creed that you can't sell to a person of color, right? Those restricted clauses. And you want to see, it seems like that's what that legislation is doing, because it's something parents think about when you buy a home, what school district your child is going to be in. Right. So it was something that my ex and I thought about when we had a daughter and we were thinking about adding on to our family. Where do we live so that when our kids go to school, they're safe, that we're not worried about them, physically, and we can get to them close. And then also we know that they're going to be taught well. Right. And so that was a serious concern. It's a serious concern on a lot of parents' minds. Like, where do you enroll your children? And then you have some parents who, by default of income, have to live in certain places. And then their children are in schools that might be under-resourced or underfunded. Right. And it matters because it's the difference between having your own foreign language teacher or having to share a foreign language teacher or a PE teacher or having your own full-time counselor or having to share a counselor or social workers that have to work for schools and have a caseload. And each school has a different range, like 200 kids, 500 kids, 1,000 kids. They're responsible in case something happens to any one of those kids. Then you'll have some people that argue, well, not every kid is going through a crisis. Not every child is experiencing a crisis at the same time, is what I'll tell you. But there's a chance that every child in a school is going through something. Mm-hmm. And at one point, it is a lot, because what you also have to do as a, and I'm on a tyrant here, I'm sorry. What you also have to do as a counselor, you have to follow up. So it's not just checking on that one time, but you have to follow up. Now, what if on another day, something else blows up? Like, having ample resources at schools makes it possible for children to be successful. Like, not overworking teachers and counselors because you have adequate staff, right? Counselors shouldn't have to cover the office because you don't have a secretary. But if school districts can't afford it, they will use federal funding to pay for those specific positions that they need. Now, most districts try and hire auxiliary staff so that way you can use federal funding to hire faculty like teachers, resource teachers, and things like that. But it's still made difficult if you don't have that funding, because then you have to go back to doubling up or sharing. And again, you're not giving your full support to a school or those children. So having a home in a neighborhood that's well resourced is a dream of every family. You don't want your kids to go without. It's the stuff that court cases are made of. Like they have a court case here in St. Louis, Minnie Lindell versus St. Louis Board of Education, which ended up requiring Black children to be bused to predominantly white school districts that were more resourced, right? It's the end result that you want. It's for your kids to go to a good school. But in the end, that doesn't help Black children read on grade level any better, because you're just taking the money along with the children and moving them out to the well-funded resources already. I mean, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about Derek Bell, because I do. But if you all have time, read Derek Bell's Silent Covenant about what's a stronger approach to fixing American education, Black American education, especially when it comes to funding. But Black schools are historically underfunded. It's unfair. Like Tennessee State,
we were just talking about that right before.
They're owed billion,
like $2 billion.
Billions. That's crazy.
And Tennessee won't pay. And I'm from Nashville.
But they asked them to make cuts.
Yes, but it's about the money, but it's also deeper than the money. So if you know anything about the topography of Nashville and where TSU sits, mm-hmm. the property location is prime property. And so when you look at John A. Merritt Boulevard and Jefferson Street, so if you're coming down Jefferson from I-65, you're going to see the first original historical location for Mount Zion Baptist Church, which is their pastor is Bishop Joseph Walker III. Then you have the Matthew Walker Comprehensive Healthcare Center, very historical as far as providing healthcare for those underserved within the Black community. Okay. Then you go down half a block, Fisk University. Right across the street is Meharry. The end of the street, Jefferson, John A. Merritt, is TSU. So then also Jefferson Street during prior to pre-civil rights and even through the civil rights was one of the biggest seats for sit-ins, boycotts, etc. A lot of famous, notable Black people during that time, because they could not stay at other places, hotels, restaurants, etc., stayed on Jefferson Street. And so when you put all that together, not just the money, but the value, because back in the day, Jefferson was thriving. It was like a mini Black Wall Street. And so at one point in time, when they were like, oh, we need to reroute the interstate, I-65, they could have routed it in other places but where do they run I-65 through?
Yeah.
And so what happened to the community? And of course, now they're gentrifying. Everyone, is coming in because of gentrification. But now you're seeing, like, just with tissue, other HBCUs bleaching on campus with the professors, students. Then also because of where it's located, if you leave John and Merritt, run into Charlotte Pike, and go over 3 blocks, you know what's there? Vanderbilt. So if you're running parallel, TSU's running parallel to Vanderbilt. So if you were to shut that school down and flip it from an HBCU to PWI, what's going to happen?
Get an influx of white students.
It's already happening. And in addition to the property, it's a beautiful campus, the way where it's situated, because the next main intersection over is Clarksville Highway, which is known as Bordeaux. And so what a lot of people not from Nashville don't realize, Bordeaux, if you're coming down Clarksville Highway, it's in your, let's say you're sitting on your porch or your patio, you can literally see the skyline of downtown. You can sit on your back deck and watch the fireworks of downtown from your house. And so now it's a real estate thing. Then the next section over, you have what we call Metro Center. And so now they're working to build a bridge to connect Metro Center to downtown. So big picture, it's bigger than just not paying TSU.
Right.
It's a very coveted piece of property within the city, probably the most.
Sounds like a soap opera drama. Like you put them in so much debt that they have to buy out.
Yes, there's 2 other properties that are very coveted. One, there's
It's not that they're in debt; they just owed the money that they're not going to pay them.
They're not going to pay. They're trying to bleed them dry.
So it's like reparations, but in reverse. Like, just the money you owe us.
Well, they were audited. TSU, the state of Tennessee was audited, and based on that investigation, they discovered that they owed them the money.
Yeah.
They refused to pay, and so it's been a blame game within the administration. Big picture, it's because of funding. But just when you look at that, and there's not just with them, but just historically from how many HBCUs initially existed to now it's barely 100. And they're fighting. Some are fighting to remain open. Others, to stay open, have now expanded their intake or their application by admitting non-Black students to keep their doors open to receive funding. So there's a lot, and then there's a lot of layers there. And that's a whole nother podcast when we start talking about the bleaching of HBCUs. But one of the things we were talking about this offline is I've been window shopping for a doctoral program, and one of my problems has been is I would love to get my PhD from an HBCU, but the options as far as programming and then technology as far as what is available online has also been an issue. And it's down to the degree program. And so I've been torn on that because I found a school that has the program I want, but it's a PWI. So then it's like, well, like we were discussing before, do I change my program to something else? And so I feel that all of my other degrees are from PWIs, but I've always wanted a degree from HBCU. And it's like, why not get my PhD from an HBCU? I think that's so dope. But when we look at programming, funding, etc., how do we navigate that right now, particularly with the issue with the Department of Education? And I'm asking you this because I'm also a veteran. So when we look at schools like the Ohio State or Columbia that are stripping their DEI programs, I'm a 3-striker when it comes to DEI. I'm a Black woman veteran, right? And so I'm like, okay, the remainder of my GI Bill, who do I give that to? Do I choose this school that could later strip their DEI initiatives? Like, how do students or prospective students like myself navigate the space right now with this going on?
Yes, that is a lot. That's heavier than the lift that I'm purview to. in education. Like I never would have thought about that barrier you would face as a veteran. You would think that they would bust the doors open for veterans, but now it's become a barrier because the category is included in DEI, which I feel is, first off, I'm really offended by America not liking the idea that it's a melting pot. Like all I remember growing up as a kid is those songs were a melting pot, and that was so we would get along. Now, for us to do like a total 180 and say no, uh, it's merit based, and the only merit that qualifies right now is the ones who felt persecuted. Like I'm a DEI trainer. I've done diversity, equity, inclusion seminars and trainings in the realm of education and some even corporate spaces for the past 4 years now. And sometimes you walk into meetings where you have some training sessions where you have some participants who are like, this is complete BS, and by the end of it, they still feel the exact same way, which is fine. But what I want is the chance to expose them to the information. Like learning about the true history of America should not be a problem. Like learning that enslaved people built America on stolen land to help rich white men stay rich while they mistreated their white spouses and also ridiculed their gay children until they were greedy. And then they had a heart change, right? Like that's the thing I loved about Joe Biden being president. And I'm going to get off this soapbox. But he was a white man who grew up in segregation, who voted for segregation practices, who appointed more black female judges to the bench than any president ever, who appointed the first black female justice to the Supreme Court, who picked a black woman to be the vice president. He had a heart change, right? This white man, not knowingly that he was a racist because he grew up happy. We all know Joe Biden's backstory. He grew up in white Scranton, happy, not Catholic, doing good by his people because that's what he understood. He went on the Senate floor and had a rant when he was younger about not voting for busing or not approving of busing because they shouldn't, whatever his reasons were. But he also had a heart change. How did he have a heart change? Because somebody exposed him to this information. It might not have happened until he met Barack Obama in the Senate and they got buddy, and he realized, hey, I might have been wrong on this whole time. But without the opportunity for those two to mix and mingle, Joe Biden never would have had this heart change. That's all I'm asking for white people to consider. Could you have a heart change? Could you think about the accurate history of America and then think to yourself, dang, maybe I do have privilege. I'm not saying you asked for it, right? But when you walk into a space, do you get a second look? Do people doubt that you can afford to pay for something? Do people think you're not going to tip? Do people assume that you might have ill intentions, right? All I'm saying is take a moment to examine.
But even in that, for myself as a prospective student, I don't want to go to a school and maybe there's some thoughts, right? And the environment. I don't know the thoughts of the abuser's office or my professor or whoever on my writing team. Like, I don't know. And so these are the culture of the university. So for someone like me, just to bring everything back around, now I'm having to rethink this is bigger than just me applying for my doctoral program, but how would this impact, would I experience biasness on my defense for my dissertation, like because of how I look, versus maybe how I'm treated in the HBCU. And so now it's totally shifted my selection process because now I have more at stake, and I don't want to join a school and then my first semester in, oh, such and such universities decided to strip their DEI initiatives. Why am I there? And so there's just the psychology of the selection process for students, because you have your degree pre anti DEI, but for people like me in the middle, in the thick of it right now, or even those in school, I know they're probably working on their papers or whatever, but in their back of their mind, it's like, are they wondering like what's going to happen with my program? And so these are things I think about, and even with which I share with you a couple things I'm considering doing my dissertation on, even to have funding to do that. There's just so many questions. And so it's just, the whole thing is a conundrum right now. And it's very frustrating because I would like to start in the fall. This is April, and I'm still back and forth looking at schools just because every day I look on the news, something else is being stripped away. And I don't want to wait and keep kicking the can down the street. It's just a very tough space to reside in right now from an educational standpoint as a prospective student. So,
Yeah. So I'm definitely an advocate if you going to an HBCU. So I would say that I have a cousin right now. I text him almost every day about going to law school at a HBCU. But so I think we talked about it offline. But again, first off, you want to make sure you get your degree, and first what you want to use it in, how you want to use it, right? So then the thing that all those things you mentioned are still going to be there, right? You're still going to have a university like that might pull funding or programs or initiative under DEI, but it won't take away from the work and the merit of your degree. So wherever you go, you're still going to own the research and the expertise that comes along with your work that you do. But you're right, that is a real problem to think about. Like, will this school honor me as a person just for being there? And I hope that again, everyone who, again, my hope is just exposure. Like, I'm a teacher at heart, so I think if I put the information out there, you might not ever want to pay attention to it, but you've been exposed to it. So maybe later on in the back of your mind, you have an inkling about why it's necessary for us to understand the diversity, equity, and inclusion that's required to have a good, or what's the word? Yeah, I'm gonna say a good enough America, because we need to know how to get along. Like, people should be able to have civil conversations, even if you disagree. Like, my grandmother used to say, you ain't got to like them, but you can listen, right? I don't have to like you, but I can listen. I don't have to like your ideas and perspective, but I can listen respectfully, right? Maybe, and that'll show you that I'm willing for you to pay attention to mine. Even if your mindset is never going to be changed, right, about how other races, cultures feel, or you feel about them, maybe one day it can. Like I said, the idea of teaching is to plant a seed. Maybe later on, further on down the line, you'll remember that you heard it, you'll think about it differently, and you'll try. But to your point again about selecting a school, I would say go with your first mind when it comes to how you spend your resources, because you're right, that's your money. Like that GI Bill and the way you'll be paying or how you'll be paying for it, that comes from you. So wherever you're going to be comfortable in the end, but also know that at any time, if they pull their funding or they pull their support for diversity, equity, inclusion, again, it won't take away from the work that you're going to put towards your degree. So yeah, go, like your friend said, get it, girl. Go get your degree, no matter what it's in. But again, my advice was always still get your degree and what you want to use it for, right? Leadership, business, marketing, whatever. But make sure it's what you want to use it for, because that's how you want to be an expert in.
absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, turning the corner in the conversation, as we get towards the end of this and begin to wrap up, as far as just within your space, when you're looking at what's happening now, um, within pre-K, you're looking at middle school, high school, and then just the shift, what we're seeing now because of DOE and these initiatives. What about that generation of students where we've always heard, go to college, get a degree, versus now you're seeing the rise of a lot of people wanting to be social media influencers or entrepreneurs, but just the root of the importance of still thinking about college or wanting to go to college, and not allowing these initiative changes discourage their desire to matriculate into higher education.
Yeah. So I would always say college isn't for everybody. So if you want to go straight into business, marketing, the military, or whatever, If that's your design and your desire, make sure when you finish your K-12 school, you feel prepared for it. So my bailiwick is definitely K-12, pre-K to 12 leadership. But I love, instructional wise, like preparing. I'm elementary and early childhood because I believe in foundation. I think how you get rooted, the work and the labor that was poured into you in your early years makes for a stronger, longer lasting academic career, which will hopefully turn into a strong professional career. So when you think about where you want to go, or if you want to go to college, the first thing you have to think about is money, because nothing is free, right? If you go to college, you're going to have to pay for it. If you don't go to college, you're going to have to pay for it, right? You still have to pay for your quality of life. So if your mindset is on going to school, have you figured out the financial aspect of it? Because that you don't want that to be your burden when you get there. Now, I don't even know if they have ended this, but there was a situation in Alabama when I was at Alabama State where students who were white got to come to Alabama State under a minority scholarship. I'm curious. I should look this up. I'm curious if that's still in effect with the anti-DEI policies. And I know Alabama being
That's
a
a good question. Like, how would it reverse and play out at HBCUs? Because technically, you're following guidelines, right?
And Alabama being a red state, I'm not sure if anybody brought it up or if it's on the docket anymore or not. But
if you find out, let me know. I'm curious as to that.
Yeah, because my thing was I was going to say if those minority scholarships are still available, like at PWIs, and you feel like that's where you feel safe and comfortable, and you can qualify for them, go for them while the money's there. Because like I just told our host, the money might not be there, or the situation might change drastically in a minute. Like I was just telling you, we started a program. We asked people to come and train to be teachers, and now that we're up in the air about it because it shifted. The money situation shifted. So that's the first thing you got to think about. If you're going to go to school, make sure you know how you're going to pay for it. Are you going to be on academic scholarship, athletic scholarship? Are you going to do the military route, which is I kick myself every day. I wished I would have stayed with the Air Force or went to the Coast Guard.
I tell people do 4 years and leave and take your marbles and go home. Like I did 8 years, but you know what?
I would have happily had free clothes for a year. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, there's some cons to that too, but
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like it's still. But then the prestige that you get, the leadership experience that you get, like it's unmatched. Like serving in your military, and then you have a brother and sisterhood of service to your fellow.
It's like another fraternity.
It is, and I see it. Like I see it with when I talk to people who are veterans and who are service members. So think about your path if you want to go to school, and then. This is a conversation I just had with my son. If you're going to get a degree, like my mother told us also, make it something that you're passionate about, that you want to do the work in, right? I love teaching. I do. I remember watching Mr. Rogers as a kid, thinking about, man, that looked like fun, like talking to children and make sure they understand things so that they're okay, because I felt like he was doing that to me. My grandmother's approach was not to goo gaga with us. She talked to us like she was teaching us how to do stuff. My mother and her would say, now, here's how you do it. Now, show me how to do it, right? Teaching. Like it felt so comfortable and natural to me. So when I got my degree in teaching, some people say, oh, Sheldon, you should have been a comedian. And I like making folks laugh, but I feel most comfortable making folks laugh in a classroom. Like I've always felt happy and safe being a teacher. So if you ever... when you get your degree, if you pursue your degree, make sure it's something you're happy and passionate about, that you love doing, right? Because what you don't want to do is have a degree that you can't use, or that you're not happy with, because you to pay for that, right? And that's not going to help you in the long run. And then when it comes to being true to yourself, like DEI might go away, but you still get to be a confident person of color, if that's who you are listening to this podcast, and you get to stand on that. Like it doesn't not acknowledging you does not negate your history, your heritage, and your possibility. So even if they stop talking about, if they stop doing ancestral recognition or land recognitions when they have setups on campus, so what? You know that the ancestors of this country were Native Americans. You know that African Americans worked with free labor under the brutality of enslavement to build the White House and the Capitol building and other mansions of governors around this country and factories and all plantation and probably even Wall Street. Actually, they did build Wall Street, but so you don't have to worry about if they don't say that out loud on your campus. You know it's true, right? So go forth knowing that the knowledge that you take in, you can use that as a powerful tool to make change happen in your community, change happen with your family, or even change happen nationally or internationally, because you have, how do they say in the Dr. Seuss books, you have brains in your head and the will in your feet to do.
Good. One last point before we start to wrap up, Dr. Sheldon. So statistically, news is going out that Black men are less likely to go to college, and if they go, less likely to graduate versus their Black female counterparts, for multiple of reasons. Harsher discipline for minor infractions on campus, or just being villainized prior to stereotyping, not seeing themselves in school, which then down the road can harm or lower that a barrier of entry as far as matriculating to the next economic bracket because of the lack of education. Then you see the rise of Black female counterparts with more degrees and higher earners. So can you touch on maybe to parents of Black boys as far as options, as far as encouraging higher education, and just tapping into why this is still an issue for our young Black boys and young Black men?
Yeah, in a word, mentorship. So parents, mothers or fathers, if you haven't gone to college, or if you want your child to go to college because maybe it wasn't your route, mentorship. My mother is a college graduate. I'm very, very blessed to have graduated from the same university my mother graduated from, and she is a teacher. So I saw it firsthand how beneficial education was to my mother. She got to live out her dream of teaching and provide for her children because of her education and background. I saw Black male teachers around me all the time because I didn't know when I was in elementary school. My principal, Dr. Mahalia Hines, who is the mother of the rapper Common, was very intentional about hiring Black men in every grade level at our school. So we would have role models. So we saw Black men being educated. Like not only there were classroom teachers, but the resource teachers and the PE teachers and the librarian were Black men, right? So I always saw Black men when I was younger as people in leadership, people of authority. But when I got to high school, there was less and less Black male teachers. Like maybe one was the PE teacher. I didn't have, I think, a Black male. Oh, I had Mr. Couch, but he was the first and only one I had for a long time. But anyway, my point is saying I saw the example when I was younger, so I knew it was possible. Then I got very fortunate when I was in high school. I had a mentor who was a college graduate, who was a pastor at a church, right? So you walk in his house, you'd see degrees, you knew he had an education. So I saw this. Now I knew my mother graduated from college. I saw this other Black man who was mentoring me, who had degrees. So I knew it was something that was possible. I didn't even go as gung-ho as I am by ASU. I never stepped on the campus until I went to school there, right? So you would think that I went through college visits and everything and I made my decision. No, right? And I just saw the example, like even the image of knowing that degrees were around me, people I love and respected had degrees, made me think that that was a possibility for me to do, right? So having strong mentors who can set that example for what you want your sons or daughters, especially Black men, because at the university where I work, I talked to my associate dean just the other day about developing a mentorship program from elementary all the way up to college. So when I was younger, when I was in high school, I was a part of this program called Future Teachers of Chicago, where they paid high school students to go tutor elementary school students in your neighborhood. And the money was great, right? And I'd already want to be a teacher. I told you my mother was a teacher. So I knew I liked teaching. So working with kids, bam, right there. So it got me hooked on the idea even more because I was getting money for doing something I already like to do. So my idea was to mentor up and tutor down. So have college students go to high school and tutor high school students while also providing mentorship. Like, so you tutor on maybe a couple of days a week. Then another day a week, we do mentorship activities like maybe go karting, have roundtable circles where we talk about life issues, right? And then also high school students go down and tutor elementary school students and do the same thing. 2 days out of the week, you tutor, and then 2 days out of the week, you do mentor activities like playing baseball, reading a fun book, and having an analysis of it, right? And so we're going to try and model it after a couple of programs we've seen around the country. But the idea is to get young Black men thinking about, as early as elementary school, the possibility of going to college. Because, like I said, the mentor down is going to connect. Like, we have students in our College of Ed program, right? But there are only 4 Black men in the School of Education, and we need more. So I want to recruit as early as I can. Like, I want to get young Black boys thinking, I could be a teacher. I could be a respected pillar of the community, right? Like, there have been teachers who've gone on to be world leaders. We just need to know about them so young Black men can think that that's a possibility for them. When I went to Alabama State University, we used to be like the #1 or #2 producer of Black male educators in America. I want to get us back to that status. I want us to be the champion spot wherever I land. If I'm at SLU, Harris-Stowe, Alabama State, I want to be the spot where Black men come and say, I want to be a teacher. So when you go out into the world, you know your impact, your influence, and the power you have to make a difference in this world just from being a classroom teacher.
I saw some information about that as far as the decline in Black male teachers. And one of the biggest things was income because of now with social media, um, looking high end or rich or wealthy, and the image of that as far as status from a financial standpoint. And so it has deterred a lot of Black men from entering the higher educational space, or the maltreatment of Black men by white female counterparts in educational spaces,
That broke
which
my
has
eyes that hard. Sorry.
which has discouraged them from continuing on as educators in the spaces, and where they pivot out into a different industry. And so I just think, like, hearing you say that has been very interesting to me as far as those reasons, but also the reasons why we've seen the decline. And then
Yeah.
in addition to, as far as systemic reasons why Black males have been pushed out, because now you have a father figure in the classroom for your Black students, another issue. And then also we look at just overall, goes back to dollars. And so I just wonder in the future, what will that look like? Because my first male educator was Black male educator was junior high, and he was just PE teacher, right? And then I didn't have my first Black educator until I got to college at MTSU, Dr. Bakari, and he taught African American studies. And so when we're at MTSU, the Black men on campus, from what I saw, they were pigeonholed into teaching Black history, or they were like Mr. Metcalf working in Black student services, in the office, helping us get vouchers to eat,
Yeah.
just bubble. And so I just wonder, like, how, and then Black women, I only had one Black professor, English,
Yeah. It's
because
go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, because just thinking about my teachers all through school, even in elementary, junior high, middle school, they were all white females.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so, yeah.
so it's still 80% of the profession is white women. It's funny you mentioned like the scarcity of Black professors. Like, I saw once, I was in my office today, and another Black professor walks by, and we kind of did a double take. Like, I looked up, he looked back. It's hey,
It's like an anomaly, when you
yeah. He's like, yeah, me too. So, and I've done that like at least 5 times on campus where I've across campuses and went to a different school, and I saw a different professor, or another professor was like in a different building. Anyway, yeah, and that's why I'm trying to end that gap of like we've been holding strong at 2% Black male educators from pre-K to college. We've been 2% of the profession since I learned about the study in 1999, and we're still at 2%.
Yeah, but then you jump, and I'm like, how do you go from that to all of these Black male HBCU presidents? So
they're 2%. They're included because if you think about the majority of schools in America, they're white, right? So that means majority of the schools still have white presidents.
yeah.
So if you look at HBCUs out of if there are 5,000 colleges in America, there are 100 and
That makes sense. The numbers,
HBCUs,
yeah.
right? So even if we have so many of them, it's still only 2%, right? Like I bet if you look at how many Black presidents are at white PWIs, it'd be 2%.
And I had one. Well, we had two. We had Dr. Walker, and then we had now Dr. Sidney McAfee. He's still the president of Middle Tennessee State University, which is the PWI. But how often do you see that?
Yeah, it's not often.
Yeah, he's been there since '97.
Yeah. So I mean, you do have some pockets where that is popping. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's my goal to right that ship. Like I would love to start an academy where we examine the impact of Black educators, Black male educators, right? The dollars, you're absolutely right. The funding is the pay is one of the main barriers, because think about it. You want to be a family man, you want to take care of your family, even if you don't have kids. Like maybe you have a parent or a sibling or someone that's responsible for you, that you're responsible for. I mean, and if you don't have like $70,000 starting off in this economy right now, and if you have a kid $100,000, it's almost impossible. But again, like now if you are single, like those are the guys that I would go after. Like guys who are single, who want to put their life path together, who don't necessarily have a family off the jump. But I want to start earlier than that. Like I said, I want to go for elementary kids. I want to get them excited about having Black male presence in the classroom, right? Even if it comes through the form of mentorship and tutoring, and then hold on to that feeling, that excitement you saw a bunch of Black boys in a room being excited. I remember I got recruited to go teach a all-boy kindergarten classroom my second year of teaching.
Wow.
You talk about happy. I was Mr. Rogers. I was full circle Mr. Rogers. I was like, oh my God. I turned my classroom into a fairy tale golf course because I love golf. It was like talking flowers and greenery everywhere and potted plants,
wow.
and dancing gophers. And this is before I had my fascination with minions. But it was the cutest little thing because I was happy to be there, right? Can you imagine this? I'm hoping, I can't remember, but I'm hoping the sheer happiness of these little boys seeing a Black man stand in front of them and teach them and laugh with them and play with them. And if they get hurt, fix their boo-boo, not chastising them. Or if they do something wrong, correct them, not scold them in a professional way, in a loving way, in a trauma-informed way. Like that is what would build more strong educators. And even if they don't just become teachers, they become strong men who we need in our community, right? So I don't know. That's my goal. Like I'm working with the dean. I'm gonna work over the summer to put this grant together because I really want to create that. Like if it starts somewhere, I wanted to start with me, and wherever I land, I want to keep bringing that same passion, recruiting more Black men to be teachers because they need us. Like the research is clear. When a student of any race, creed, or background has a Black male educator, they thrive academically from the presence of them being in the room. I personally, I don't have any research behind this. This is just my opinion only. I think it's a pop culture thing. Because when you see Black men mostly that are successful, you see them on television, like playing sports or rapping or, and some kind of celebrity guys. So when you see them in the classroom, that same image of a well-dressed, well-groomed, popular man is that same image is what the students see. They listen to them more. They laugh with them more. They cooperate with them more in the classroom, and they learn when they're in the classroom. They also get that idea that it's okay to understand or see people that aren't like you as genuine human beings that you don't have to be afraid of. And then they open up. They get to ask more questions, think deeper, and then that just carries on as they go. Like they open up to think about more people. That's just my interpretation from how I've interacted with students. Like
Yeah.
I've seen heart changes in my students at graduate level, elementary school level. Like you come in upset with me about something, but when you see my approach to teaching you, you have a heart change. You become a stronger human being, and then you go out there and you don't, let's say you're not harsh to people, and you're trauma informed, you're caring, and you want to see children succeed.
Yeah. The first, and I know we got to wrap up, but like the first time I can vividly remember seeing Black men in the classroom,
Hey, what's up, Hillman?
a different world.
Yeah,
Like seeing
he's a
Colonel
5-time
Taylor.
graduate. We had this conversation earlier.
Yeah, seeing Colonel Taylor in different episodes, um, highlighting Professor Foster, Dr.
Yeah.
Foster, right? He was an orator. He taught English and talked about Shakespeare. You
Mhm.
know, we didn't see that prior to my crush, Dwayne Wayne, because and I fell in love, had a crush on Dwayne Wayne because he was smart, right? Black engineer, had never seen that before, you know, and so I always liked smart guys. I was like, oh, he's smart and he's cute, you know, and so to have shows like that highlight educators, particularly Black men in the classroom through that show, even now, to show how well the show was written and how important those representations, how that representation still matters today. Because even now, when you look at television, when you think about
Black women.
universities and colleges and educators outside of A Different World, what other show has really highlighted that on that level?
None. Abbott Elementary does have a black male lead
Yeah,
as a black male teacher, which I think is great.
I love
Um,
Abbott's a great show.
I wholeheartedly agree with you about A Different World. It's why I wrote the pilot episode for just like a version of a television show about the start of an HBCU that features two black men in that role as the leaders of the school, because it does matter. Like seeing the history of America, like again, black people started an industry that is still thriving 157 years later. Education. Colleges and universities, these HBCUs, the 101 that are left, are still going 157 years. It's interesting to understand how they got started. Like some of them started from absolutely nothing, teaching outside under a tree, some of them in the basement of different buildings, some of them hiding in shacks. And look at them now, still thriving. Got the nerve to produce doctoral degrees and law degrees and nursing degrees and engineering degrees
Presidents
and
and vice
presidents
presidents.
and vice presidents and chief justices. I mean, and Supreme Court justices. So just that history to me is sacred, and that's why when I they created A Different World, I love that idea of seeing black kids having a great time learning and developing strong friendships. Right? I was on campus. I was at a high school today, and the first thing I did was I got a chance to give a pep talk to the kids who were getting ready to take the ACT test. And I walked out with no ASU paraphernalia on, and I said, all right, who knows where they're going to college? These were juniors and seniors. And the one girl raised her hand very emphatically, and she said, I'm going to Alabama State University. You knew I lost my mind. I said, what?
I know you had a
I
whole
lost it. And
moment.
so that was a perfect springboard, because what I said after that was, I'm going to tell all of you why you need to go to Alabama State University. Now, all of them couldn't because we didn't have the degree of the program, but what I did was encourage them about going to an HBCU. And all of the black boys that were there, I told them, and you should think about becoming a teacher. So not that I'm new to this, I'm true to this. I speak love to everyone who wants to take care of the black community. And I want you to know that I'm here for you, right? Like we have got to band and stick together as a community, because it's going to make our nation stronger. But it starts with us. And I think educating us, taking care of us, believing in us is how we get that done.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time. We covered a lot here, and I definitely want to bring you back just because I love picking your brain about education, and us in the classroom. It's always a very insightful and impactful conversation. So thank you so much. But
Thank you.
before we wrap up, do you have any takeaways or nuggets for listeners and viewers until you come back? And then also, do you have any new projects, books, anything coming out? And where can people contact you on
Oh,
social media?
sure. So my takeaways are going to be real basic. If you're a parent or if you're someone on here who loves a child, take time and read to them daily. If it's a grandchild and they're out of town, if it's a godbaby and they're out of town, if it's a nephew or a niece and they're out of town, and you can't get to them, FaceTime them, call them, read to them. I had a professor who told us one time, if you meet a child who doesn't know how to read, you met a child who nobody loves, right? Take time and read to a child. That's my takeaway. Okay. Projects that I'm working on. It's funny you should mention that. Yes, I am always in my creative space. So I do have a new project that I'm working on. It's going to be coming out real soon. It's called Sunday's Cool. It's about a granddaddy named Daddy Chuck, based off my comic book. Based off my children's book, and his two grandchildren, Peanut and Kiki, and he's going to teach them Sunday school lessons. So it's going to be an animated show of Bible stories taught with the humor of little children and a grandpa. So that's coming out real soon. And what else is coming out? I'm still working on the animated movie of my book and my novel. So keep your eyes open for that soon. That's Shango and the Spirit Children of Yoruba. But other than that, I'm always putting out TikTok videos. So if you happen to see any of my TikTok videos or Instagram videos, you can catch me pretty much everything. My handle is right there at Dr. Sheldon C. McAfee on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook, just Sheldon C. McAfee or Sheldon McAfee. You can find me there. And on Twitter, it's at, I think it's McAfee_doctor. I know I have a Twitter handle. I hardly
We left Twitter. We're on Blue Sky now. We don't mess with Twitter anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, show me what Blue Sky is. I will definitely sign up. I support, a progressive stance. I definitely don't want to support anybody that's not taking care of us.
Yeah, there's a mass migration, and then just like Twitter, like there's Blue Sky, but then there's Black Sky within. So I'll send you my handle offline, and then you'll check it out. But it's like Twitter, but without all the ownership of said person. So
gotcha. Block him. He will restrict your account for a couple of days, because that's what happened to me. I was like, whoa, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, Blue Sky is like, it feels the way Twitter used to when it was starting, so it's a good time to hop in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. That's all about Dr. Mac. You guys, those are places you can find me. Oh, and you can order any of my children's books at www.drsheldoncmcafee.com. So the @ handle, but just put the W's and the .com at the end.
Awesome, great. Well, you all, I hope you all got something from this episode. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me. I am on Instagram at Camille.Essig and also on Facebook at The Speaker Podcast. Go and hit that notification bell, subscribe, follow me on YouTube, on my website, CamilleEssig.com. I have new products and services there available. New things coming out really soon. And I would love to hear from you. Send me an email at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. So with that being said, thank you again, Doc. Hold on just a moment. This is Camille Essig. I am the host of The Speaker Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. And we are signing off for this evening, and I'll see you on the next one. Check out my website for the lineup for the rest of this month. Y'all be safe. Have a blessed weekend. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Speaker Podcast. Be sure to follow Camille on Instagram at Camille.Essig, Facebook at the Speaker Podcast, or www.CamilleEssig.com.